Welcome back. This is the Wuben X4 and has a ton of features to check out beyond the obvious side light and the super bright main light. Now, here's a quick disclaimer. Wuben sent me this product for free to review and I do get to keep it, but my opinions are my own. Let's start with the build quality. This flashlight is ruggedly built. Like it feels like a brick. Such great build quality and it's definitely not light. Get it? Because it's heavy. It is IP68 rated. The switches all around it, they just feel great. The switches feel great. It does have a magnet on the bottom, which is mostly okay. So for example, here's a piece of metal. I stick it in there. It's connected. It doesn't matter which way I go. It's on there. Now, the reason I say it's mostly great is that it depends on the orientation that this is on or how big the metal object is. Because if you see here, there's that switch on the bottom. They call that the tactical tail light. It eats up some of the bottom there. So only a little bit here of the magnet actually happens. And because of the length and weight of this light, it can cause some problems. So if I'm like this and I shake the light up and down, it's mostly fine. But if I turn it upside down and I shake it, it will somewhat fall over. And then on the side, if you notice there, sometimes it wants to go down this way. If I just give a little bit of a jiggle, see how it rotates like that? And then sometimes just a little bit more of a jiggle, and I'm not even doing a lot there. Same thing here, you can see here. See, it will move on its own, and then a little bit of a jiggle, it will come out, and then upside down. So that's just something to be aware of. If, for example, here's a little tiny metal clips. Let's say I don't have a lot of metal to get this guy on. Here, like it won't even stay up because it doesn't have enough space there to rest this on. Even upside down, it won't stay on. So even like at an angle, it won't stay on. Same thing this way, same thing this way. So that's just something to be noted. Depending on the metal surface, this magnet, because of the orientation, the length, and the weight of this, might not work out well. Now, Wuben, for example, has their G5, just to show you the difference. I'm shaking this a lot more than I shook this light. Because of the size of this light and the weight of it, the magnet feels great. And in fact, the magnet of this small light feels about as maybe a little less strong than this one. But honestly, the size and weight make a huge difference on how well that magnet functions. The next thing I'll talk about is the pocket clip. The pocket clip is great. I really like this pocket clip. It's like a dual layered pocket clip and it really is strong and tough. I think it does a great job and I can put it on the brim of my hat very easily. No problem there. Typically, if I was going to use this on my brim, I would put it like this just because of the weight. Having it on top of the brim helps kind of even out the weight a bit. However, it's definitely heavy on a hat brim and does sort of feel like it's weighing the front of your head down. Just something to note on that. Okay, so it comes with the light. It comes with a lanyard. It comes with a USB-C charging cable and the manual. Okay, so we're going to talk about the functionality now. There's a lot to go over here, so I'm going to try to be quick about it. First thing first is you have this mode selection dial. Right now it is in locked mode. That prevents all operation when it's in lock mode. It doesn't matter what button you push, it is off. So now we go into side light mode, and you can tell it's side light mode because that little thing, that little flashlight symbol is facing that way, which is the side. When you push the on button, when it's in that mode, it will turn on the side light, okay? That will also turn off the side light. Adjusting this little rotational dial here will adjust the brightness up and down. When on, if you press and hold the button, it will switch to the little RGB light. And adjusting this little dial changes the color in it. When on in RGB mode, a double press changes it to beacon mode. And double press to go back to solid. When it's off, you can turn it back on. It will remember the setting that you have that side light on. And when it's off in RGB mode, you can double press it to go to kind of flashing red and blue, red and green, and red and yellow flashing modes, and double pressing it changes the colors if that's something you want. Okay, so now you have the main light mode. You can tell it's in main light mode because it has a little flashlight symbol facing that way, which is where the main light is. For the main light mode, of course, the button changes the flashlight on and off. The dial, of course, raises the brightness up and down. Double pressing this button when it is on will go to max brightness, and when you double press it again, it will go back down to the last setting it was at. And finally, we have moonlight mode, which you can tell is the moonlight symbol here. And when you turn that on, it will just turn it on to its lowest brightness setting. So this moonlight mode brightness setting is no different than the lowest setting of the main light setting. Just something to note. Finally, you have that tactical button, as they call it. And it operates differently based on which mode of the light it is in. Of course, it doesn't do anything in lock mode. In side light or main light mode, it operates as a momentary push button. As long as you hold it, it is on, and it will have max brightness out of there. So you can hold it kind of like this and press and hold it. And if you double press it, it will strobe. When you have it in mood mode, this button operates exactly like the main button. So you can just press it once and it will turn it on. You can turn it off, turn it on, turn it off. So these buttons operate exactly the same in moon mode. When you have it up in moon mode, it exposes a USB-C port. You can plug in your USB-C and you'll see that a light will turn on there. When it is red, it means that it is charging. If it goes blue, it's fully charged. To figure out how much charge is left, when in main or side light mode, you can long press and hold the button and it will tell you here. I am going to talk more about that later. Another way to charge it is, if you see here, there is a lock unlock button. So we will unlock there, and then I can push this button inward like this, and that springs out an 18650 battery, and you can just charge this as you normally would in an 18650 battery charger. What I like about this lock here is that it really makes it so you can't accidentally remove the battery, but you still have quick access to the battery, which I think is pretty cool. One other interesting thing to note, that when it is charging, you do have access still. You can turn the mood mode on and off, no problem. But because you can't move this switch at all to any other setting, you don't have access to the other settings. Here's a banana for scale. Please subscribe. Guess what? I wrote a children's book called Who Says Pooh? It's a funny, read-aloud children's book about words in different languages that sound phonetically like the English word poo. Link is in the description. Now back to the video. Okay, beam quality. Let's start with the side light here. Okay, the beam quality of the side light is great. I really like how even and great throughout the beam it feels. There's no weird colors or shapes coming from the beam. I really like this. The main light, there are a ton of weird artifacts all on the shape of the beam. And I think it's from combining the fact that there are 4 little LEDs in there to make the single light. I'm not sure why they didn't just go with 1 or what the significance of having these 4 in the shape that they are. On a positive note, there is no weird color fringing on the edges of the beam. In RGB mode, okay, the beam angle of the RGB light is nice and even and great as expected. Talk about some negatives. I've already talked about the magnet being a tad underwhelming for the size and weight of this light, but I would still consider that a negative. Not a huge negative, but it is one. I don't like the beam shape of the main light. For most people, this won't matter. For me, the weird artifacts that are made at the edges of the beam are distracting. Another negative is that some functions of this light can be easy to forget without the manual, like the red color flashing beacons. Final negative, and it's a negative unfortunately that I have for every Wuben light I've tested so far. I really like Wuben, what they're doing. I like their flashlights that they've been sending me have been fantastic, one after another. I really like them. But the battery indicators are weird on these lights. That flashing blue light means that it's between 40 and 90% charge, which I think are very weird numbers. If it was a solid blue light, it would be 100 to 90% charge. If it was solid red, it's 15 to 40%, and blinking red means 0 to 15% charge. I think these are very weird, arbitrary numbers. I would like to see something more intuitive. Like maybe if we push and hold this, every blink that's blue means that it's up to 20% charge. So one blink means up to 20%, two blinks means up to 40, and so on until up to 100. I think that'd be easy. You just go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, great. So I counted 5 blinks there. Let's say there was no other blinks. That means that this is a fully charged light. Super simple to understand. Something like that would be good, or even like 4 blinks or different colors to indicate, 75 to 100, 50 to 75, 25 to 50, and 0 to 25% charge. Because they have colors on this light, so they could use colors to do that. Without the manual, trying to remember what the little flashes mean percentage-wise and everything um, isn't going to happen. So that's really a big bummer that they've done that with all their lights and continue to do it. I hope that they do change it in the future. I surely can't be the only one that has a gripe about this. And this is a really nice flashlight. I really like this flashlight. And maybe for you, that's not a negative. I don't know. For me, it is. Overall, though, this is a stellar flashlight. And I think a lot of people are really going to enjoy using this flashlight. If you're curious about the Wuben G5 that I kind of showed you earlier, check out the earlier review that I did here. Thanks for watching.